Welcome to Real Estate Success Partner. I'm your host, Devin Abuke, and this week I've got returning co-host Dom Arias from Premier Lending. Dom, great to have you here, brother.
Great to be here, Devin. Yeah, I'm super excited for this episode. We got a fantastic agent out of Lincoln, Nebraska, Mr. Dylan Bard out of Keller Williams here. One of the top agents, doing a lot of great things. So, yeah. Dylan, welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks both of you for having me here.
Brother, we're excited. We're super excited, man. Yeah. You've been doing some great things out there, and looking forward to spotlighting, somebody who's doing some awesome things, and not just in the industry. We see the flag back there too. You're also in the service guy, and Marines, from what I heard in the green room. So thank you for your service too, brother. I definitely want to make sure we mention that. So. Well, Dominic, or Dom, as we say, you always find great people out there, and Lincoln market, right? You're in Nebraska, is that correct?
Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
What's the temp out there right now?
What do you say, 50 maybe?
Oh, good. It's
on
warm.
The high end,
Yeah. Yeah, warmer weather, right? Warmer weather. I hear there may be some cold fronts coming through up north. Are you guys going to see any of that?
Oh, it's in flux every single day. A couple days ago it was probably in the 20s. You never know with Lincoln. Those weather forecasters have a hard job.
All 4 seasons this week. We know.
Yeah.
I got my space heater in the office set for 72, so we're going to be riding that one out.
Yeah, no clue how to dress. You're like, do I wear a coat? Do I not wear a coat? Right?
Right.
Layering up, taking some stuff off. I get it, man. I'm from Kansas originally, so I do understand the weather up there in Nebraska too. So, so let's talk a little bit, Dylan. So you're in the industry, but are you from Nebraska originally? Is that your home state?
Yeah, so I was born and raised here. Lincoln's a town of 320,000 people, and I basically was on the south 15% of Lincoln.
Okay.
My whole life. There's a street called Old Cheney. I never went to the north of that. So now me being a real estate agent, I'm like, man, these are some roads I've never seen before, and I'm
That's
30
cool.
years old.
Yeah. Getting to bounce around a little bit.
Here. I left for the military, like we were saying, in 2014.
Okay.
And did 4 years there, and decided to come back here and do some real estate.
That's cool, man. When you mentioned too, you were in Australia at one point in time, and then you were on a boat for a while. What was that like?
Oh, the boat life is great. So just imagine 200-300 Marines in a pretty tight room, sleeping 3 bunks high. A little bit of testosterone running around there. It was good times.
No competition at all.
No competition.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good time. We worked out a lot. We just trained. It was more knowledge training than anything. And then occasionally we would get off and do what we got to do, get back on. And the whole mission of that entire MU is what they called it, was building relationships with other countries. So whether it be Bahrain, we went to a lot of places. Just building relationships.
You were on tour. Yeah, you were on tour. Well, I love it, man. At the end of the day, we always like to, say thank you for the service, that you did for our country. It's so important what you guys are doing. And, I just want to pay homage to that. So appreciate you and you getting out there and doing that. So we go for the military. We get back to the States, come right back home to Lincoln.
Yep, to Lincoln. So I'm going to backtrack just a couple months there.
Let's do it. Let's go. I like it.
But the last, so in Australia, that was 2015, this first deployment. Like I hit the fleet, and right away they're like, hey, you're deploying. You got like one field operation to train, and then all these other guys have been training for a year, but you're going. I'm like, all right. So we go there. It's more of a vacation, kind of the building relationships again. We did a 37-day field op, no showers.
Oh, boy.
But, we ended up doing a 24-hour duty. So it was like a rotating duty. And this is my buddy Josh and I. We were just walking around base, just making sure no one's doing anything stupid.
Yeah.
And we're just like, man, this kind of sucks. It's like 2 a.m. and we're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like, let's like get out of the military and make some money. So this is like a year in, like, why am I even saying let's get out? Just, embracing the suck for a little bit. But I was like, my dad's back in Lincoln right now. He's been doing real estate for a couple decades, and
Got it.
he's helped all these real estate investors just make a killing. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but they're all just like filthy rich. They'd go to the casino, drop 10 grand, and like chuckle and like
Right.
as walking to
Whoops, left some money over here.
right. So we, we're like, okay, maybe real estate, and we fast forward a little bit until like Josh was like getting out of the military. He got in a little bit before me. My 4 years was coming up, and at the end, I have no deployments to train up for. What I'm doing is phasing out. I'm checking back my gear and doing all that.
Right.
So I go get a job at the third busiest Domino's in the country, which is on a Marine base in California.
Okay.
I delivery drive. So it's just a kind of a way to. I literally was doing nothing. So I could have played video games, could have done anything.
Yeah.
But our plan was to get out and do real estate.
Okay.
So I delivery drive, and it was kind of strategic in the sense that I was going to have a lot of alone time. So I was just driving on base in a car, and all I would do is I had my phone set on Bigger Pockets podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
I would just be listening to a podcast every single shift.
Yeah.
So I'd get out of the military job at 4:00, and I would drive till 10 at night, just listening to podcasts the entire time. So
That's great.
really just building that knowledge base before
100%.
I got out, and also make it. I think it was like $25 an hour in California at the time.
That's awesome though, man. Because at the end of the day, you're right. You could have been goofing off, listening to music, right? But you took a time to invest in yourself and invest in your education. You knew where you wanted to go with your career, right? And at the end of the day, it's like, well, hey, let's start studying success, right? Let's study success so that we can create successful habits. Dom, you don't know anything about that, do you?
100%. No, I mean, that's what we do all the time. And I think that's, you want to be a student of success ultimately. You don't want to reinvent the wheel if you don't have to, but, it definitely takes determination, at the end of the day.
That's it. Yeah, because it's so easy just to turn the channel,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your future, and you're also, you're learning ways that you can help people, right? I'm sure you got a lot of knowledge on there as to help the consumers that you'd be serving, right?
Right.
Yeah. So flash forward. So we get out of the military, and now we're back home.
Yep. So we get back home. The plan was Josh was going to go buy a multifamily with a VA loan.
Okay.
So this is, when we get pre-approved, kind of on our way out, we had to have a job set up back home. So, throw something at me, I'll do it. I did landscaping for 6 weeks. Just give me a job. So had to have a stable job. Phasing out of the military, I didn't want to lapse in that. I went to college using my GI benefits, but you can't use that income for your actual income. So I needed a job.
Yeah.
So Josh ended up buying a triplex that we still own today, and then I went and bought a single family for $115,000. Believe it or not.
Wow.
We kind of did the rinse and repeat on, we call it house hacking. So you buy a multifamily, live in one unit for a year. You go, rinse and repeat basically. So let's walk back through that real quick though, because this is a really smart way to purchase. And first off, you mentioned your VA or you use the VA benefits to be able to purchase the home, and because you're occupying one of those units, you can purchase it as a primary residence, right? And now you occupy that unit, but you have 3 other units that you can now lease out, right? And so you're gaining rental income that you can now utilize to offset the mortgage payment. Okay. Right. Yep. And then now you purchase the next property, move in as primary. This one becomes a rental property. You fill that fourth unit if you can, right? You have 3 people in the other units, and now you rinse, repeat, and recycle. You're building wealth. And you have tenants that are paying for the wealth building, and more importantly, just so that we really understand and dial in on this tactic, property typically improves in value about 4.5% to 5.5% every single year, right? That's the average statistic across the United States. Sometimes you have bigger years, right? But at the end of the day, now you're gaining that 4.5%, 5% equity, and you have somebody else that's paying that equity for you.
So this is smart. And I wanted to make sure we tackled that because this is a smart hack. And if you're listening in, here's part of Dylan's success right here, which is why Dom wanted to bring him on to talk about this. And very young guy, early on, following some of the structure and stats that he's learned from his father, who's in the industry, as well as this wealth podcast that he's listening to. So now where do we go? How's that go from there?
So we did the house hack and we rinsed and repeated a couple times. And, I bought another single family. Josh bought a duplex. And we kept kind of going back and forth on you're buying, I'm buying. And at the same time, so I'm getting real estate commission off these too. So, it's kind of a strategic move where cutting the largest expense you're probably paying every month is your living situation.
That's right.
We're growing our net worth. We're not really making too much cash flow because, with a VA loan, and I keep saying VA loan, but you can do this with FHA.
You can.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
The VA was 0% down. There's a funding fee that we got waived because we had a little bit of military disability. And then we asked for a seller credit to cover other closing costs. So at that time, I guess right now I bought 2 single families. Then I bought a duplex and another duplex. So what is that, 6 units? And I probably out of pocket am less than 10, 15 grand.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't include the renovations that we did to them to increase the value and all that. But just buying the asset, and I'm still doing that this day. I live in a duplex. So delayed gratification, I think, is a very important thing, especially, at any age in life, but
Right.
it really compounds and exponentially grows, if you start younger.
Well, I'm going to throw another piece in here, right? So let's say I'm a homeowner, I'm listening to this podcast, and I don't have an extra $15,000 to invest. I'm not a veteran, so I can't do 100% purchase. However, the average homeowner in America today has about $300,000 equity in their home. Guess what? You can now refinance, take a second lien out, maybe a HELOC, or if you have to do a full refinance, grab that cash to be able to purchase those other investment properties, and you can start that process too, right? Of building equity and building wealth. So this isn't just for veterans, as Dylan said, and it can be done on conventional and FHA transactions as well. But what a smart move, man! And like you said, the younger you start, the more wealth you build. So get started at a young age, right?
Right. And then so in between those single families and when I started doing the duplex, a little bit before, but I met my now wife, and we were dating at the time, and then we're like, okay, we're to the point where I move all the time. Like this is going to be kind of it. Let's move in together. So we go buy we found an off market condo for $70,500, and I don't think I had a stable enough job at the time to buy it, and the more rentals you buy, the crazier it gets to
the harder it gets to qualify, right? Yeah, 100%.
So luckily we had a family member that bought the condo, and then the down payment for that, just regular purchasing 20%.
Right.
So we put up like a 6-month plan to repay that 20%, and then eventually refied it into a regular in-house loan with a bank.
Yeah.
So in the middle of all these other ones, we did that one, and we waited about 11 months, and that equity in that place, we did renovations. It went up so much, and to your point of having the equity in the house, I said, Sierra, okay, let's buy our first deal together. So we cash out refi that place. It was now worth $100,000, and our loan on it was $56,000. So we pulled out enough money to go to the building right next door and buy another condo with no money out of pocket.
Wow. That's awesome.
So that's just kind of tapping into the equity, not using anything. I did have to buy a vanity. She was like, do we do this? Do we not do this? I'm like, I'll buy a vanity. I'll buy us a new vanity with that little bit of excess money in there.
Yeah.
And then we're all happy. But broke down the numbers. I'm like, if you don't believe in this stuff, if renting a place is not what you want to do, here's the numbers. At the end of year one, we break even. So we just hold it a year, we'll sell it, break even. Or today it's worth $112,000, and we bought that other one for $82,000.
Boom.
So
there's that
just
equity.
Kind of playing with the numbers,
Yeah. That's so smart, man. I mean, that's so smart. And like you said, at a young age, right? You're an action taker, Dylan. You took the time to listen, to see what other people were doing, to create successful patterns. and you came back home and you put it to action. And so few people do that, right? A lot of people hear about a great idea and it just stays there. It sticks, right? But you had the foresight to say, hey, look, I'm going to set myself up and my future family, even though it didn't exist yet, right, up for long-term success. And here you are. And how many properties do you own today?
So Josh and I combined those initial first properties. We actually quit claimed them. Kind of our whole plan initially was we're going to buy a lot, then we're going to combine them into an LLC together. So we own all those initial ones together. I have some on my own. He has some on his own. Together, though, we're right under 30. Right under 30 units, I should say.
30 units. So we've got 30 units. And what is the value of those 30 units?
I'll pull it up right here, but it's a little bit over 4 million right now.
A little over 4 million. How old are you, Dylan?
29,000.
4,129,000. How old are you?
30 years old.
30 years old. And what's your equity position on that?
We're sitting at like a 74% loan to value. So almost 1.1.
Boom. Look at that, man. Hats off to you, my brother.
Crazy. Thank you. Yeah,
and your friend, right?
Yeah, this is where the exponential growth happens, after this podcast, I'm meeting up with a gentleman to try to buy 20 of his rental units.
Yeah.
So this is where you got a little bit of equity and now you got to play the how can I leverage the portfolio and other relationships and stuff that I built since 2018 to buy more units. And also, you don't want to grow too fast, though, and kind of have your business eat itself up. So,
right.
I'm still learning, but
and I think to your point, Dylan, the hardest part I feel like is getting started, as you mentioned, and I think a lot of people, as Devin was talking about, they get caught up in the whole analysis paralysis, right? They overanalyze, and then they get in their own heads, and they're afraid to take a leap of faith almost, right? And they don't see the immediate gratification coming, so they don't go at all, but they don't play the long game like you. So, as you said, you started this and, you're years down the line and now you have this opportunity to go out and buy those 20 units, right? But that wasn't the initial opportunity, right when you were starting out. So that's awesome.
It's crazy having a large mortgage obligation every month, though. Let me tell you what.
But let's rewind that a little bit. So what was the initial investment to get to here?
Total out of pocket to here. So the mostly what I've been talking about is just the house hacking stuff. But our plan was we're both going to college and try to make the GI Bill housing allowance while not really even having a payment because the tenants were paying the payments,
right? Or
roommates, I guess, in some of the single family situations. So those weren't too much. Josh ended up dropping out of college because we were moving too slow. We wanted to go quicker, and you need money to grow. We could buy a property a year, but we need more money.
Yeah.
So he had an internship opportunity while he was at the University of Nebraska, and he just went full time there. He started, he was working 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for 3 years or something crazy.
Yeah.
And here he was living in the basement of that first property. He moved back in there, living with no heat, no AC, in the basement of this place. It's worth $200,000 now. It looks pretty rough.
Yeah.
Walking out in a suit every single morning, just driving that money, and that money helped us grow. And now, we bought a first rental with that and put more money down, and started putting more down on properties, and just cherry picking some good deals that come across our plate.
Well, I want to talk about that too. I want to talk about how we pick the properties, but I do want to make sure that we get this clear. So the original investment, though, cash flow wise, what was the original cash investment for the first property to kick this whole party off?
The first property, I don't think I was above $500.
So $500, right? Yeah. Using the VA. So if you're a veteran, right, this is an opportunity you can look at. If you're not a veteran, again, because of the fact that you're house hacking by living in one of those units, you can use a DPA program, and you can also get into one of these properties with no money out of pocket. It's possible if you've got the right property, the right location. You're using a DPA and you've got seller concessions. You could still do this with no money, or maybe $500, right? Maybe pay for the appraisal and that's it. But how do we pick the property, right? So, and then the other thing I want to tackle is we're picking the properties. How do we do that? And then how do we manage all this, right? Like how hard is that, right? So let's go down that avenue.
So, managing. I'll start with the managing part. There's a pretty good book. It's by Brandon Turner. He was one of the hosts, former host of the Bigger Pockets podcast. That book kind of taught the foundation of what I knew, along with when I was listening to these podcasts all the time. So I built a foundation. I kind of expanded, and I ended up, when we had a couple units, there was a system called cozy.co, which I think apartments.com bought them out.
Okay.
There's a free management software where you could collect rent on there, maintenance requests and stuff like that. Now we use Buildium, and I could pull up my dashboard of what people owe. It sends like push notifications to their phone. Everything's so systematized right now with these high 28s, like 28 units maybe.
Yeah.
I might spend 5 hours a month maybe, unless we have big problems.
Yeah.
And then we solve it. But earlier on in the days, what I was doing was going over and pounding the hammer. There's days I pulled 20-hour days just to stay afloat with everything. But now we can hire stuff out. So management early on is pretty hard. But if all you have to do, and Dom and you are going to underwrite these deals as if you're not going to be collecting any rental income for let's just say your first property.
Right.
So worst case scenario, you should still be qualified to hold the entire mortgage by yourself. It's just kind of a cherry on top when you're getting that other money in.
Mm-hmm. It's,
picking the property, you can do it kind of two ways with the house hacking. You could buy a single family and rent out bedrooms to friends, buddies, stuff like that. You could probably get $600 a bedroom in Lincoln right now. Buy a 3-4 bedroom house, and you'd be covering most of your mortgage.
right.
Or you could buy a multifamily. So a little bit harder to come across the multifamilies, but hit up some investor friendly agents, and I guarantee they have some in their back pocket.
Yeah. Well, the multifamily is so smart because, again, you've got your own separate living conditions. You've got 3 other units, right? Or 2 other units, 1 other unit, right? And you can immediately draw but you can do this on the house, as you mentioned too, $600 per house. But the multi-units are great. And then when you evacuate, right, now you've got another unit that you can actually collect income on, which is amazing. So again, 30 years old, guys, right? 30 years old. And just through listening to podcasts, reading books, right, and figuring this stuff out through some expert advice. And here he is at, what was it? It was $4 million in property again, right? $4 million?
4.1.
Yeah, 4.1 million with a little over, what was it, 1.4?
Almost 1.1.
Yeah, 1.1 in equity. What a great place. So what's the future look like, right? Like, where are you guys taking? Because obviously you mentioned something about a big opportunity coming around the corner that you're looking at picking up. What's going on there?
Yeah, this year we're kind of changing trajectories a little bit. So I've been pushing real estate sales pretty hard. Last year I did around probably 50 retail sale deals, and that's just kind of helping that supplementing the money of buying these properties, because a lot of them now we have to put 20% down. So we can either do that, or we can buy them, fix them up, buy them 20% down, fix them up, refi, and kind of pull our money out.
Right.
People call it the BRRRR method. We could do that, but really it's just trying to generate as much money as we can right now. So I've kind of changed my thought process a little bit for 2025. I'm still going to service, clients that come in, family, friends, sphere of influence, doing regular sales. But we're also supplementing with going direct to seller marketing to try to find some heavily discounted off-market properties.
Yeah.
So we're going to flip them. We're going to, get into wholesaling a little bit heavier, and we're going to try to make more money by helping other people. It has to be a win-win.
I love that, man. Yeah.
We got a flip starting next week. We sold one like a week ago, and we're trying to get to like 1 or 2 of those a month. And that be, at the end of the year, if we hold 1 or 2 per month, we're going to be able to buy that 20 unit plus probably another 20 units. So
Killer.
That's kind of the goal we're working on. But, as of right now, it's just him, myself, and then my wife helps out when we need her to with managing and kind of being here, being there. So we're going to hire sometime.
Well, I was going to ask because, what you just talked about is I've got, 30 units on ground, and then I closed, he just snuck in there 50 transactions last year, right? With that, that's a full-time job on it. And then I was going to ask, well, what's the team look like? And it's you, your partner, and your spouse. Do you guys sleep? Do you guys ever sleep? Like, how does this work?
I was up at 1 a.m. on Upwork this morning looking at trying to hire out some like bookkeeping and stuff like that. So I'm currently in the process of leveraging, working to leverage more. Haven't really swung a hammer in too long, and usually every day I'd be doing something.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm assuming you got some local contractors now. You probably have a Rolodex full of great people that you can bring out. Yeah.
And one really, really important part on the investing side with rentals that I definitely am not going to skip over is when you buy property, it's not, I have a spreadsheet right here. It's not mortgage pay or rent minus mortgage payment minus water and trash is your cash flow. That's where investors stop. So on that first property, if you look at it that way, the triplex that Josh lived in, if you just took the rent income minus the mortgage payment and then the water trash, we're making $876 a month. And I talked to Dom about this when we were having burgers.
I remember this, yeah.
You got to factor in vacancy, repair, and CapEx.
That's it.
So you got to factor in, we're kind of setting aside that money right there.
Yep.
So what you want to do is spend that money on the repairs because you're already setting them aside. You're underwriting your deals when you buy them, factoring in what's that 19%. Of it's going to vacancy repair and like roofs. That's what I call capital expenditures. So we're actually on the property only making $467 instead of the $876. So really, at the end of the day, we're making that $467. We're not. We're paying that exterior in the next couple of weeks, and where's that money coming from?
Right.
If it was, we didn't set any money aside or anything, it would be coming from our pocket.
Right.
So that's one thing you got to hit home is like houses are an investment. They need work done to them. Make sure you have the money to do it. Take care of your properties.
Put the right focus in there, right? Don't go in with the unprepared, right? Make sure you understand your expectations on what it's going to cost to keep these things, in good condition. Now, so let's talk about this. You've got clients that you do business with. Do you help them too? Like, do you have clients that you give this advice out for when they want to purchase, right? So they want to purchase an investment. Or is this a big secret you keep for yourself?
I got in trouble a little bit recently because I do help a lot of people out with it. And I try to be fair. I'm not trying to cherry pick every single deal that comes away.
Yeah.
But I bought a property as a flip, as a duplex, and I ended up selling that one to a close buddy because I'm like, man, I haven't fed him for a while.
Yeah.
So I sold it to him. We made like 10 or 15,000 off it.
Yep.
But the monthly cash flow on that one after the repairs and all that, it's like $800 a month.
Wow.
I should have kept that property, but I do help other people. I have a buddy. He's up to 13 units, and we just bought a duplex with him a couple months ago.
I love it, man. So you're empowering other people, helping them learn how to use investments and look for the right opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But you keep some of the good ones for yourself.
Yeah. Some of the good ones I do.
Yeah. So I want to learn how to do all this, and obviously, we can learn a lot just in the segment that you have here. Obviously, we could call you Dylan, and you're definitely going to be able to tell them. But let's go back to how you learned it, right? So let's shout out to that podcast one more time, right? And let's just kind of walk through some of the things that you used to learn how to get to where you are today, right? So what was the podcast?
The podcast was Bigger Pockets Podcast. They recently got bought out, and a lot of the hosts that were on there when I was mainly listening to it, they've kind of transitioned to their own thing. So A Better Life with Brandon Turner is what Brandon's doing. David Green has his own show too. It's kind of set up like a Dave Ramsey type of podcast where people bring him questions. So those are some good ones that I learned a lot on.
That's awesome, man. And then you mentioned some books too. Was there some books that you've read that helped you along the way?
Yeah. If you just type in Amazon Bigger Pockets books, almost any of those books are top tier quality. So
there it is.
It's really just, I keep bringing that up, but that's just like the foundation of what I learned was from them. Then just kind of expanded based off what I liked and what I didn't like. And I guess from the military too, I took that, the leaders that I had that I didn't think were good, and the leaders I thought were good, kind of merged that together and, really just kind of built what I wanted to build out of a business.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, you've done amazing, and I can only anticipate what 5 years down the road is going to look like, right? Where that net worth is going to be in property acquisition. But let's go back to the beginning. What if you could have gone back in a time machine and told yourself this? Would you have done differently to get where you are right now? Like, what was the biggest mistake? You're like, man, I could have done that way better.
It would have to be leveraging more. So whether that be maintenance repairs, you know, I would say I probably have spent I spent a lot of money on fixing the problems I created. So if there was like a leaky toilet, I would go replace the toilet, and I'm like, man, this is so easy to do.
Right.
And then the next one, there'd be one weird thing where the flange is sitting a little bit too low on the floor. I would mess it up, then I'd have to call a plumber, and then I would have to pay even more money than if I just hired it. And you got to kind of figure out your dollar per hour of what you value yourself.
Your worth.
You know, I'm gonna pay a handyman $50 an hour to go do some crazy stuff it's going to take me 2 days to do.
Right.
You know, painting, I'm super efficient at. I'm a pretty good painter. So, you know, maybe Josh, myself, my wife knock out a 4-bedroom house in a day, and we save $2,500.
Right.
So it's just kind of figuring that out. But the biggest mistake is just off the bat, I should have tried to hire more things out. It's just a little intimidating when, you know, you have your first mortgage payment, second mortgage payment, and now you're paying $26,000 a month in payments.
Well, and you don't have your Rolodex yet either, right? Like, who are the people that I say Rolodex, like you guys know what I'm talking about. It's showing my age over here, but you know what I mean? Your book of people that you reach out to. And at the end of the day, you didn't have those in the beginning, right? You know, so I'm sure it's a lot easier to get the right plumber and know that you're not getting gouged at this part in your career as it would have been back then. But I think that's a pro tip, right? Because effectively, you spent more time doing the repair, had to spend more money having somebody correct the repair, and that could have been time you could have been focused on doing something that's going to bring you more income.
Right. Just the opportunity cost of what you would be doing rather than what you're currently doing. And, you know, you just got to wait out.
So smart. Well, who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Because you just taught me a lot here in what a short period of time, man. You know, wealth of knowledge, Dylan. Dom, man, seriously, glad you brought him on here today, because I promise you there's going to be a lot of people that hear this and go, man, I could do that. You know, I could do that. And it's going to change people's lives, man. You're changing people's lives. So glad to have you here, brother.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is inspiring to me, because one of the reasons why I found Dylan so attractive to me was just like, you know, in the real estate industry, being newer, it was just, you know, his knowledge and his open personality. And when I met with him, you know, and I was going over how I wanted to get into real estate investments long term and stuff like that, you know, yeah, just the wealth of knowledge that he has. And so, you know, if anyone's listening and they want someone to go to for advice, like Dylan's your man in Lincoln, you know, or in Nebraska in general. I mean, you know.
And I'm trying to leverage out and build more time. So, you know, I got to take care of the people that help me to get to the spot where I am. And I also got to give back to other people too. So,
I love it.
You know, part of me not changing those toilets out now is just freeing up my phone so I can, you know, help other people out.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Well, you mentioned your wife too. And I always love to give a shout out there. So, you want to say something to your wife while you're on here? If she was here, she obviously she's a big part of your success plan. What would you say to your wife if she was here on the show?
Just a big old thank you and a big hug and a kiss. You know, she holds down the fort at home. You know, I get home from work, and sometimes I get home from work and I'm still working. You know, I work all day. Sometimes, you know, we have a new baby at home. There's been a couple of days where I don't even see the baby because I leave too early, and then I get home and the baby's asleep. So, you know, I just want to thank her for kind of holding down the fort while I try to build this as much as I can. And you know, a couple of my goals in life are to be a good father and be a good husband. And, you know, there are some sacrifices right now of working hard. But, you know, when our baby that turns 1 in a couple of weeks, when she gets to 3, 4, 5, and 6, I'm going to be able to coach her softball teams and soccer teams. And I'm going to have that time just due to, you know, busting our butts here early on in life.
Yeah, short term, you know, leading to big opportunities for long term that gets you a lot more time with your family, and that's huge, you know, because at the end of the day, you're setting your family up for success every single day. You're putting it out there, you're putting it on the line. She sees that, she knows the big picture where you're taking this thing, and at some point in time, you're going to be able to take your foot on the gas and have folks that are working on all this for you, and you've already established your net worth, your value's there, right? You've done it, you've built it, man. So. Congratulations, brother. Like, seriously, congratulations on your success. And, you know, thank you for being out there, right? You know, you're an action taker. You know, you heard a great idea. You went out there, you put it to work. You're changing your life. Your friends you're changing your friend's life. You're building a legacy for your family, and you're helping other people out along the way. I mean, what a great guy, man. Seriously, Dylan, man, thank you for being here today. Anything we didn't tackle that we should have?
Yeah, so there's one thing. It was at that 1 a.m. when I was just, my brain was just churning.
Awake.
Man, I have to mention this on the podcast today. It's an acronym that I learned from the Bigger Pockets from Brandon Turner. It's MINS, MINS. Have you guys ever heard of that one?
I haven't.
So it's most important next step. And if you can almost break anything, personal, business, you break it down to the most important next step and do it. So, I would urge the listeners of this call, and I'll even do it myself. I'll put my phone on a 2-minute timer, 2 mins, and I'm going to think, what is the most important next step for me to achieve what I want to achieve? So I'm going to put my phone on a 2-minute timer when we get off this call. I'm going to figure out the most important next thing I have to do to achieve what I want to do, and then I'm going to go do that.
And then you're going to take action. And I know you will. That's the best part, right, guys? If you're listening in, take action, right? Don't just dream big, right? Take action on it. And if you don't know how to do what it is that you want to do, like take a page from Dylan's book here. Listen to a podcast that's focused on what it is that you want to do. If this is what you want to build, listen to these podcasts, learn how to do that. Pick up a book and read it, and then take action on it, because these are going to be big changes. And I promise you, we can flash forward 5 years, and Dylan's half retired, hanging out with his newborn baby who's now 6 years old, right? And on a beach somewhere, and got a bunch of people working for him, and it's all because he took action, right? He listened to a great idea and came back home and said, we're doing this. And here we are today, man. So, well, Dylan, we know you're in Nebraska. We know you're in Lincoln. When the folks out there want to find you, how do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to touch base with Dylan Bard?
Facebook, I'm pretty active on. You can go to facebook.com/Bard Realty Group, BARD, realtygroup.com, or Instagram. The handle is @Dylan Mitchell with 1 L in Mitchell. Those are probably the best ways to do it. You could also email me, dylan@gridnebraska.com. Pretty responsive anyway. You reach out, just kind of preference of whatever you guys like.
I have no doubt response time is ridiculous when he's up at 1 o'clock in the morning, learning new success techniques.
I did get a listing from a guy. He emailed me back at like 4 in the morning, and I emailed him right back. I'm like, man, he's going to love that.
Let's go, man. Well, and guys, if you're listening in, just go to the description. We're going to have all that contact information for Dylan, so you can reach out to him and learn, how you can purchase your next home. And then if you're watching, you probably saw it run right across the bottom of the screen. So make sure you jot that down, reach out. If you're needing to purchase a home in Nebraska or Lincoln, specifically, but I think you can cover the whole state. At the end of the day, Dylan's your guy, and he is an expert, as you can see, because not only has he worked on the real estate side of helping clients, but he's worked on the mortgage side too. So he knows what qualification looks like. He's going to get you paired up with the right people. And it sounds like if you have projects that you want to work on as well, once you buy that house, he knows the right people to help go out there and do those projects for you too. And that's the importance for finding the right realtor, right? Working with somebody who has great partner relationships, because that's what you're buying. You're not just getting Dylan and the house, but you're getting all the resources that he has behind him that are going to help you become a new homeowner. If you're a new homeowner, and if you're an existing homeowner, make sure you're pairing up with a partner out there that's going to take good care of you and not gouge you, right? We know.
I have sorry about that. I have agents reach out to me like every other day asking for contacts for like, hey, do you have a plumber? Do you have this? Do you have that? So I have the book business, especially in Lincoln.
Yep.
But I do have a good referral network around the country too, and I know you guys can do loans almost wherever.
We can. Yep.
So we can definitely, all of us here can definitely take care of people.
If you've ever heard somebody say, "I know a guy," they're talking about Dylan. Just he's the guy. That's the guy. We found him. He's right here. So, well, again, brother, great to have you on here. Now, Dom, you're in Nebraska, but you're in mortgage side of the business, and you do business in Nebraska, California. What state am I know there's another one in there.
In Iowa, Nebraska, California, and Iowa is where I'm licensed to originate in. But yeah, no, absolutely. You guys can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I'm probably more active on Instagram, but My profile is the Dom Arias, and then you can also just give me a call. Cell phone is 531-220-2408. So anyone listening to this, they want to, take that first step into home ownership, whether or not that's the goal is to buy investment properties, or just buy a home, just one and done.
Yeah.
It's like there's no right or wrong route, so, give me a call. And if you want to go the investment route or just in general to buy a house, just give Dylan a call.
Well, and if you are an investor and you're listening into this one, we talked about some strategies with conventional loans and FHA loans and VA loans, but there's also DSCR loans out there. And these things are a great way for investors who can't provide the income information, but want to purchase a property. And we use the future income of the rental property to offset the payments. This is a great program. So if you want to know more about that too, and you're an investor, reach out to Dominic. Because this is a program that we do right here in-house, and we have a lot of different outlets for it. So I'd love to talk about that with you as well. But, man, what a great show. What a great show. I can't wait for this one to air because people need to know Dylan Bard and what he brings to the table.
That's right.
And, man, thanks again, Dom, for tracking down Dylan and dragging him over here, man, because this has been fantastic. So
thank you, Dylan, for taking the time. I mean, I know you're a busy guy, as you said, and, it really means a lot to me to have you on the show and just kind of get your name out there more. So, I'm glad I can be a part of your journey.
Yeah, my pleasure. I love it.
Well, there it is. Yeah, absolutely. We do too. So we're your real estate success partners. I'm Devin Dubuque.
I'm Dom Arias.
And I'm Dylan Bard.
Hey, until the next time, we'll see you then. Hey, and if you want to be a guest on the show, just comment below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we will see you coming soon.